All right, everybody. Once again, thank you to those who are present. It looks like we've got a nice list of attendees today, and I recognize some names. By the way, the names are only visible to me, but I do recognize some names from folks who attended last time. So I certainly thank you for coming again, and I want to reassure you that we've got new doctors, and I imagine new questions from the audience. So it really should be just as exciting an experience as last time. I have a slide up now. I'll take it down, but because I've been asked to host these things, I also get to push something else that I'm leading right now. Aspen Dental is offering free credited online CE, and we are literally offering it to everybody in the industry. AspenDentalCE.com/welcome. That's the sign up page. People have asked why we need to sign up if it's free, and you only need to sign up so that your CE credits that you earn can be properly awarded. So please feel free to use that, share it with friends. There's content in there for specialists, for hygienists, for DAs, and it's just a little contribution that I have been fortunate enough to be able to make on behalf of Aspen Dental practice owners and Aspen Dental Management. And we are providing that for free for a year so that folks can learn from home during the coronavirus outbreak. So thank you for allowing me to do that plug. There's my duck for a second. I'll get rid of that. So I'm very happy today to be hosting another one of our AMA sessions. We have 3 docs today, and my role in this is to encourage conversation and to make sure that as many questions that are posed to us as possible are answered. But I will also do my best to keep myself out of it as much as possible. So without further ado, keep an eye on that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please don't hesitate to click that and type in any questions, and I will immediately turn around and pose them to the team. And so once again, without further ado, I'm going to unmute our docs, and then we will ask them to give a brief introduction, and then we'll dive straight into questions. Dr. Shach, why don't we start with you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad that you guys could all make it for today. Hope everybody's safe and healthy, and your families. I'm Dr. Shach Bahadur. I practice in Iowa. I actually graduated from a dental school in Canada near Toronto, University of Western Ontario. I currently own 12 practices here in Iowa and 1 in Illinois. You know, I'm very glad to spend the next hour with all of you guys. Thank you.
Dr. Shach, are you or any of your dentists practicing teledentistry now?
Yeah, we just got some of the computers and some of the logistics set up last week, so we're just getting into it right now with some of the other doctors, some of my guys.
Great, thank you. Dr. Katie, why don't you go ahead?
I'm Dr. Katie Heald. I went to dental school at VCU in Richmond, Virginia. I also did a residency at the VA hospital in Gainesville, Florida, in conjunction with the University of Florida. I own 4 offices in North Carolina. I relocated from Florida, where I was a partner, to North Carolina to be closer to family. I currently have 3 offices that are open. My 4th one is reopening on Monday. We haven't started teledentistry live yet in North Carolina, but some of my doctors and staff have begun training on it, so we can hopefully go live with the teledentistry next week.
Go ahead, Alex.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Alex Mitchell. I went to dental school at Temple in Philadelphia, graduated in 2018, so it's just about 2 years now. Not an owner currently. Started out in Keene, New Hampshire. For about a year, kind of got my training, got everything underneath me. Then now I'm working in Vermont as a lead dentist, running the office, the only doc there. And if it wasn't for this coronavirus, I'd probably be moving to Philadelphia in 2 months to open my first practice. It looks like things are gonna get pushed back about a year or so. Those details are forthcoming. Again, living in New Hampshire, I'm affiliated with 2 practices. I work for an owner, Dr. Christie, who's taken really good care of me, taught me so much, and given me way more CE than I ever thought I'd have access to. In terms of teledentistry, at first I was going to be doing teledentistry, but I had the opportunity to cover emergencies instead in the office. So I chose to do that. But we are doing teledentistry in this state through our Aspen group.
Great, thank you everybody for the introductions. The questions are coming in, so I'm just going to dive right into them. So for those of you that are open, what kinds of cases are coming in now?
I can start with that. Emergencies, straight emergencies for our office. I mean, in theory, the Aspen model is the owners are the ones that get to make those calls, and the doctors that are practicing get to make the calls. So you technically decide, but according to ADA guidelines, we're only doing emergencies. For me, it's extractions, referrals for root canals, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same with us. Alex said it very nicely. I mean, it's pretty much up to the person seeing the patient with all of our practices. You end up deciding what you're comfortable doing, obviously following the state and federal guidelines. We're pretty much just doing emergency care, and getting people out of pain and keeping them out of the ERs.
I'll echo that here. That's what we're doing in North Carolina. And what I've been doing with my offices is patients in acute pain, a majority of extractions, taking out infected teeth, and then referring over to endo, maybe one or two over to the oral surgeon, but really just trying to keep people out of urgent care and out of the hospital.
Great, thank you. So I have a question that just came in. At what point do you consider SRP emergent?
That's a good question, actually. Localized scaling, I guess, due to a perio abscess. I had a couple docs in a group chat that I was talking to the other day, and this exact thing came up. And that's about as far as things have gone so far for me.
We haven't really seen that many cases for that. I mean, obviously, if you have something urgent, you can, use your best judgment. But, our hygienists aren't working currently. So, if the doctor feels like they need to get something out, do it without ultrasonic or, hand instrumentation where you don't have aerosols. And then, you're pretty safe to do, very limited or, single teeth, that kind of thing, like Alex said.
Yeah, I had a patient come in and she had just generalized swelling of her gingiva, lots of subgingival calculus. She was in desperate need of scaling. Her gums were really bothering her. But again, because I would have to have a Cavitron, trying to limit the aerosols, started off with some chlorhexidine, see if we could lower that bacterial load, get that inflammation down, get her comfortable, and then get her back in a little while for the SRP.
So another question has just come in. I'm going to give the initial answer and then I could turn it over to the experts. The question is, so if an owner decides if you're open or not, isn't that being dictated to treat at the orders of a non-dentist? My understanding as a dental student is that situation is unethical. And so that is certainly an unethical situation. The key element that's missing there is that every practice is owned by a dentist. And so when that comment was made, it means it's at the discretion of the practice owner who is a dentist, and in many cases who will also be treating the patient. Those are the ones that make the decision as to whether or not to be open. Anybody want to add to that, or is that sufficient?
I can add. Basically, for my offices, I left it up to the doctors who were treating the patients whether they felt comfortable going in or not. I didn't want to push anybody to do anything that they didn't feel right doing, or maybe they had some medical issues or, some concerns. I have guys that aren't working right now, and I have guys that want to work. So, it's ultimately up to the person who sees the patient, and whether we open or close. I mean, it's really up. I left it up to the doctors, actually.
As the only non-owner in this group, I can kind of echo that, saying, basically you're given a decision like, do you want to not work at all, or do you want to see patients only on an emergency basis? And that's been the experience going forward for other doctors I've talked to with Aspen. Good questions, guys. Keep them coming.
Yes,
one thing to add to that, actually, one of the nice things that we were able to do was get some of the government loans and assistance, so we can actually pay people. We're paying people, and they have the option of working or not working. So we're able to give them, income in this difficult time, and they really don't have to work. So ultimately, we're trying to do the right thing, because we work with all these people. They're like family to me, and I'm sure to the other guys. So they have kids, they have families, they have bills to pay. So it's not easy for anybody right now, but we're trying to do the best we can from with the situation that we're put in.
So
yeah, and we're really leaving that up to the staff too. Just the staff that are there, if they have parents that they take care of, kids with health conditions, and if they're not comfortable coming in, we're shifting and adjusting with staffing so that we're minimizing who's in the office and minimizing exposure. But if someone's ultimately not comfortable working, then we're not forcing anybody to come into the office.
So that's a good segue into a question that's been asked here. How does the new CARES Act impact your practice? So perhaps you guys can elaborate on your experiences with those small business loans and what that process was like in that application and so on. Dr. Katie?
Aspen really did a lot of the legwork since we've done loans with Aspen before, they have all of our information. They were able to help us compile everything for the PPP loan, and we still filled everything out, filled out the applications, but they assisted us in getting the applications put together, and really did a lot of the legwork, so that took a lot of stress off of us.
Once we're on this topic, in what other ways has ADMI been supportive during this time? And I will admit that that's my question.
Well, I can talk about the CARES Act a little bit more. Basically, I know a lot of private practice and other doctors who, they're in the same situation as me and you and, all the other doctors and all the other businesses in America right now. Because of one thing or another, like even if I had filled out the forms myself, because there were so many practices, it would have been very difficult for me to do it correctly on time, get the application into the bank. And a lot of my friends and the people that I know, they weren't able to get the loans. So, that's one of the things that I benefited over the last week and a half, in very difficult times. It was very simple for me to get the money that I need to take care of my, employees and my staff and the people that work in the practices. And I feel so much better knowing that I can take care of them for the next, 2 months without worry.
Great, thank you. So this question's been waiting, so thank you for your patience, whoever asked it. In normal situations, how do you balance or juggle owning a large number of offices? Dr. Shash?
Oh, sure. So I didn't always own so many, it's definitely, and, I practiced in Canada for 6 years as well. So I know both parts. I was in private practice. I was a partner up there. There's a lot of work in owning a practice. There's lots of time that you end up spending, obviously, with your patients, but then you end up spending that much more time dealing with all the, all the advertising and all the payroll and all the, staff issues. And that takes up a good chunk of time. That's why a lot of private practices, once you go to one practice, maybe two, that's pretty much it. So when you work with a DSO, especially, obviously with Aspen, you have to build relationships, you have to build trust, you have to build connections, just like anywhere else. One of the major benefits with this is everybody is all in one spot. So I have regional managers, I have directors, there's, other levels of people that constantly help me. So for example, like, talking to all my team members, I didn't have to pick up a phone and do that with everybody. There's people that help me do that. We're going to get you back on the payroll that happened yesterday. So, those are the things that, you know, those are the little things that, you know, you don't end up having to do. You know, I don't deal with advertising, I don't deal with payroll, all that kind of stuff. So it's basically, do you want to spend all the time, you know, do you want to have 10 people doing the work, or do you want, you know, one organization doing it? So, you know, that's in a nutshell what has helped me grow the practice.
So Dr. Katie and Dr. Shach, and don't worry, Alex, I got one coming up for you.
Great.
But so to the multi-practice owners, how much time do you spend providing clinical care?
I'm in an office almost all day, every day. So I'm there from 8 to 6, Monday through Thursday, and then we do a half a day on Friday. So I'm in the office doing clinical care, and then spend sometimes doing administrative things, just talking to my other doctors, making sure my managers are all right, but speaking with my regional managers on a daily basis. But like Dr. Shach said, being able to lean on those who are in the field, helping on a more administrative role is really nice. So I can have that separation and go home, spend time with my kids, and not have to spend another work day at the end of my day treating patients, doing payroll, paperwork, and everything else that I really don't want to do.
Actually, I feel like I have more time now than I did in my private practice. And I'm not just saying that, it's true. Like, I can come home, obviously after a certain, you know, I've been working for quite some time. And, you know, I'm not working every day, but I do go to each of the practices. I'm pretty much there Monday to Thursday, and some days on Fridays as well. You know, I do bigger cases, I'll do the larger implant cases, all that kind of stuff. So that's, over the last few years, that's the way I've transitioned. I'm doing more mentorship now. So helping, you know, some of the younger guys that need more help with anything they need, right? Doesn't even have to be teeth, right? So, you know, that's where we can help bridge that gap. So if you're, you know, and that happens in private practice too. So, you know, you need a good mentor when you're first starting out. So, you know, that's what somebody coming out of school should really look for, is somebody that can help guide you and take you from, you know, not knowing as much to knowing as much as you can in as short a time frame as possible.
So that leads nicely into our next question for Dr. Alex. The question is, how long have you been a lead dentist, and what have you liked about the position? But just before you answer, Alex, I'll speak on behalf of other practice owners that I've spoken to. One of the ways they manage to successfully own multiple practices is that they have their trust in the MCD, the managing clinical director, who runs the day-to-day operations at any practice. And so Dr. Alex, as he mentioned, is a lead doc. And so again, the question is, how long have you been a lead dentist, and what do you like about that role?
So I've been a lead dentist about a year. I started out as an associate, did that about a year, and then they were like, hey, there's an opening, you know, we really like what you're doing, we'd like to see you kind of grow into that role. I was kind of hesitant at first because I was so happy with the associateship that I had that I almost didn't take it, but they made the deal a little sweeter, and it's turned out to be a real opportunity. Getting to manage originally working in the office, with a mentor doctor was really nice when you're first starting, because, you know, needing to get bailed out of an extraction and, you know, learn that hands-on kind of stuff side by side, whether I'm assisting the owner doctor or whether they're kind of watching me and giving me guidance. But then that kind of moved along, because now I'm running an office, and in that first year I got all the training, how to do the dentistry, everything else, and then it became kind of how to manage the office, how to work with the rest of the Aspen staff to help take care of patients. Honestly, you see so many people come in, so many people in pain, and being able to meet their needs and do it in a quality, kind, caring way is kind of what that offered. So yeah.
Great, thank you. So now I'm going to ask a question from our Google form. There's the online form that folks are submitting from as well. So first of all, I'm glad to see that you folks are asking the important questions. I'll handle this one. Yes, these are teeth on my tie. So thank you to whomever posed that question. So since COVID-19 is known to be an airborne disease, what are the guidelines for making sure the patients are safe and they're not contracting viruses in the offices? Is there a plan in place for how long an appointment should last, how long folks are in the waiting room, if there's other patients in the waiting room with them, and how the room is cleaned between patients?
There's not good guidelines from anyone. There's recommendations about limiting aerosols, being covered, head coverings, gowns, shields, N95 masks, universal precautions, infection control, just as you would between patients regularly, making sure things are clean, lobbies clean. Of course, since we're seeing emergencies, the volume within the office is greatly diminished. So really my office is kind of almost one patient in, one patient out. I don't really have a lot of people backed up in the waiting room. We're asking family members to wait in the car. We're asking patients to wait in the car if we have more than one coming in at a time, to just limit the volume and people in the office. We have the masks, we have gowns, scrub caps, shields, so that staff feels like that they are as protected as possible. And that's kind of the best that we can do right now before we get more guidance on if we need air purifiers or whatever else we need in the office. This is kind of what we're doing to keep everybody safe, keep patients safe.
Well said.
Yeah, that's excellent. We are looking at some other options of, how to manage the aerosol, and, that's more of an industry thing than an Aspen thing, because no practice in America, has negative pressure rooms or, things that external suctions for aerosols. And, so one of the nice things about being in this type of situation is we're not on our own. We got a team of people that, I talked to a couple of them just the other day about, looking at cappers and things like that, where there's a fan attached to, a full head cover, looking at all the things that, whether it's a practical thing or not, or whether we can manage where, you can wear loops inside it and things like that. And then obviously how to manage the rooms and the patients. And, Katie mentioned all that very nicely. So one of the nice things is we're not alone in these things. And there's a team of doctors there's the learning and development group. And then there's basically doctors who are directors, and they look at all these things and they give us guidance. And when things like this happen, nobody really knows how to go forward. We're all kind of figuring it out on our own right now, obviously with the guidance of ADA and state boards and state associations, but they don't know either, so it's never happened before. So we're all kind of learning, but it's nice to have somebody who can back you up with this.
Alex, did you want to add something?
I think that just about says it all. It's just the support. There's nothing to worry about. You just do everything you possibly can. We understand we have to see these patients because they're going to be in the emergency room otherwise. Universal precautions allow no one to accompany a patient coming in, one patient at a time. And yeah, N95s if possible. And the best thing about Aspen is that we can get materials in bulk that are hard to come by.
I was just going to mention that. It's been nice because Aspen is large. We have the leverage to acquire PPE when it's impossible for other private practices to get it. So we're able to get shields, able to get masks, able to get gowns when there's really none to be found on a private practice level.
So
right now we don't even have to order it. They just send it straight to the practices. So they'll send it.
Do you think these precautions that you're taking, Is this going to become the new normal?
I think so.
At least for the short term, you know, probably for the next 4 to 6 months, 4 to 8 months, depending on, basically until they look at finding some kind of treatment modality that decreases the, you know, the severity of the disease, or they get the vaccines figured out. Until then, I mean, this is the normal.
It's the $1 billion question. I know there's one group I'm following, Dentists Against Coronavirus. There's like 40,000 dentists plus. It's a little crazy, honestly. It's emotionally draining
a lot
to
of
watch.
Stuff, yeah.
But you know, that's how you can kind of keep up with this. And then people will be talking about the ADA, but you can kind of get a sense of where things are headed. Obviously, probably won't go back to exactly the way things were, but right now we're just all guessing.
Alex, if you are interacting with 40,000 dentists, feel free to mention the free CE program we're offering. So with regards to those of you that practice at multiple locations, are there any additional precautions you take with regards to potential COVID transfer if you move between practices?
What I'm personally doing, I'm not really traveling between practices, but I'm bringing a change of clothes to the office. I'm not going back home in the same clothes that I went to the office, and you're changing into scrubs, you're covering your shoes, you're covering your head, and it's regardless if you're going to another office or going back home, you're wanting to limit the transmission. So I've told all of my doctors, bring a different pair of shoes if you want to, or change clothes in the office. I don't think it really matters if you're going to another office. You just don't want it to come with you.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not going into different offices right now. No travel. It's pretty much one office if I do go there or not.
Great. This is a good one. Have you made a list of what procedures you do not need to throw away your scrubs? Because this person that's posing the question says their practice is running low on PPEs, particularly gowns.
What about throwing away your scrubs?
Are there any procedures that you are willing to perform that don't require you to throw away PPE between patients? I think that's what the question is saying.
Oh, I mean, ideally, no. It's just a matter of how much you have. It's protecting yourself and protecting others.
Great, thank you. What changes do you foresee in the way that you treat patients once you're allowed to do full services?
That's another speculation one, guys. And I think that if you check some of those chat rooms I mentioned, you're going to hear tons of it. And I don't think that the three of us would feel comfortable making guesses, but maybe you guys think something else.
It's going to be very dependent on the comfort level of the person providing the care, you know, and, you know, some people may do a little bit more, some people will do a little bit less, you know, but from my perspective, it's not the same as it was, you know, 2 months ago. So, you know, we're all going to change and we're all going to have to grow and learn. And nobody really knows the right answer right now because, you know, one thing is we may be going to work, but if there's nobody there, then that kind of changes, you know, the dynamic, you know. Patients have to feel safe to come in too. And that's half the issue where, you know, we have to find a balance and that may just take time. And, you know, right now, I don't feel like there's a major reason to rush into it either.
Great. So here's one that I don't think, Alex, I don't think this one will apply to you, but we'll give you the opportunity to comment if you'd like. Some economic experts forecast that we may be heading into a recession similar to 2008. For those of you who are a dentist in 2008, how did the recession impact your practice in terms of production, and how would you prepare for a hypothetical economic shutdown of that magnitude?
Well, I remember 2008, I was practicing, so maybe I'll start. I was practicing before and after too. So actually in 2008, it was kind of interesting because that's when I had transitioned into the States, and obviously to Aspen from my private practice. And in the beginning of 2008, it was fine, so I was okay there. We actually had a really good year, so one of the things that I found in in the Aspen care model is we end up seeing a lot of patients that don't get regular care. We see a lot of patients that need a lot of care, and it was definitely a little bit less in 2008, but it wasn't a huge impact as it happened in some of the higher end practices, some very cosmetic practices, things like that. We still do all that, but we also take care of the people that may not have had care for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So they're going to come because they're in pain, they need work. So, and we can take care of that. So whether there's the economics is bad, one example is Walmart, for instance, did really great in 2008 because everybody went to Walmart because they still needed stuff. So people are still going to need to fix their teeth. So if you're able to get the people and provide the care, that downturn in the economy doesn't affect dentistry as much.
I wasn't practicing in 2008, but I think the niche that Aspen fills is it makes that care more affordable and breaks down some of the financial barriers that a lot of private practice offices have. Taking a majority of the insurances, providing third-party financing that a lot of private practice offices are not able to offer patients. So I think even if we do hit a recession, like Dr. Shach said, that we're going to be able to still have the patients come into the office because we're able to provide a service that they still need, and we are able to make it affordable despite the economic conditions.
Thank you. There's a few questions now about ownership. So Dr. Katie, this one specifically for you. You mentioned that you moved, you relocated from Florida to North Carolina. Was that a move that you initiated, or did Aspen move you?
It was a move I initiated. I was born and raised in North Carolina, left to go to dental school and did my residency in Florida, and happened to join Aspen there and partnered in Florida. But since I joined Aspen, whoever would listen to me, I told them, whenever you go to North Carolina, I want to go. I'm your girl. Let me in. And so when it was time to enter North Carolina, I still had my North Carolina license, was still bugging people to let me go. And I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to open the first Aspen office in North Carolina. So it was something that I definitely wanted and pursued. But it was also a benefit to the Aspen community, bringing in Aspen into a new state.
I feel like I can add in here. First of all, Aspen's not going to make you move anywhere. They're here to support you. And for myself, I wasn't even planning on owning. I was planning on maybe working for a year, maybe doing something else. A year in, I was amazed by all the opportunities I had. I took the next step, became a lead dentist, and now, all of a sudden I hear in Philadelphia, where I went to dental school, my state that I'm from, closer to family, the city that I love, we're opening up a market, and I get the opportunity to go in there because I reach out to, I guess, the right people and said, hey, I have an interest here. I've been with the company for a while. And that's kind of where things typically go, I think, for people. They're either looking to own in a particular area and they say, hey, keep me in mind for when this opens up. I'll be around until then.
That's cool, Alex. So basically,
I think I can add a little bit to that. This is a really great benefit of being in this type of organization. So both of these two, if you think about it, they got the mentorship they needed out of school. They learned all the things that they could learn from their owner doctor. And typically what happens is and I've had this happen to me too, where the doctor says, like maybe I want to partner, maybe I want to own. What are my options? So then we discuss options, and it's a big it's a big world. There's lots of opportunity, and everybody should have that. So when we're in this type of organization, it's just, you get that much more opportunity to network and find places, and you're not moving there and you have no idea what's going on. You don't know, like the real estate, they take care of all that for you. We always find good locations. We have a really great real estate team. I'm sure Katie found that out. So
Yeah.
one of the nice things is you get all the tools and all the information to make the right decision. And when somebody is helping you guide things like real estate, like I opened a practice in one of my cities here, and I was looking at a location, and they said, and they were in Syracuse telling me this, right? This is in Iowa. They go, no, that one intersection is a bad intersection. There's been like 4, 5 different, tenants in there for the last, year and a half. They all failed because people can't get in, like they couldn't get into the parking lot. And I thought it was an awesome spot, so these are the things that me and you, and I'm sure the other 2 on the panel, we don't know these things. So when you're looking at, setting up a practice, looking at all that stuff, we're not good at that. We're good at dentistry, good at teeth, we're good at talking to people, building relationships. Those are the things we're good at. We're not good at all the other stuff. So let the experts deal with that, and they do a better job than us.
Absolutely. And then coming from a different market, I have mentors and resources that are in Florida, now in North Carolina. Just having been with Aspen for 7 years, I've got connections in Chicago, all across the country. So being mobile and the flexibility to go where you feel like you want to go, whether it's for family or different opportunities, you're building connections, you're building resources. You're never on an island and being the one and only. You have loads of people who are a phone call or text message away to help you with any situation.
Thanks. There's a follow-up question here about ownership. What was the process by which you purchase a practice, and then how do you purchase additional practices?
So to purchase a practice, there is just an initial buy-in to purchase a practice, and that cost is set. So you purchase a practice and you go through the loan application. Aspen helps set all of that up. They have preferred banks that they work with. So again, that loan process and that application is very streamlined and very easy. And then once you have gone through that initial process, opened the office, done well, you've developed those good relationships with Aspen and you want to take on more, it's pretty much the same thing. If you have enough cash that you've built up, you can purchase part of it with cash, take out a loan, whatever you need to do. But Aspen has those processes in place to work with preferred banks and preferred lenders to streamline it and help you with it.
Yeah, it's a very simple and straightforward process, actually. Once you work in a practice and what, if it works for you, because it doesn't work for everybody, right? So just like a private practice, just like associating, owning, it has to be okay for you. So you work, you find out if it works, you're happy, you like, the patient flow, and, you like the teams and all that kind of stuff. You buy the practice, you work there, you do well. Obviously we're doing well. And then you continue to expand, and then you start learning other things, like how to manage, teams and people, and how to do, more, you got to be a better mentor, because it's not just you anymore, right? So, they help you with that. I've taken a lot of courses on leadership and, how to present and all that kind of stuff. And they guided me through all that too. And I obviously did some on my own, but, there's a lot of guidance and there's a lot of help, and, it's always appreciated.
Alex, anything you want to add?
I think that took care of it.
All right, Alex. Well, maybe that you'll want to add to this one. So it says with your upcoming practice in Pittsburgh,
Philly.
Philly. Excuse me. That was me. I was adding that. With
It's all
your
good.
upcoming practice in Philly, what technology is included in a new Aspen practice?
Great question, guys. So Aspen's now putting CBCTs in all of their new offices, and the current owners are trying to get them placed into certain offices. The ideal is to have them in every office. I think that we all know that's where the future is going. Aspen's looking big into implant dentistry, so that's one of the big things. They're coming full. These guys probably would be able to answer that question a little bit more specifically because I just entered initial negotiations, not the final. So I didn't get the extended contract. I got the short contract saying that we're kind of in an agreement, and then COVID happened.
So Dr. Heald or Dr. Shach, anything you want to add about the technology in the offices?
iTeros.
Yeah, the iTeros, we pretty much have those, in most of the offices now. I mean, I have it in all my practices. It's been a great technology. There's obviously, the cone beam CBCT. We've been doing, conventional implants. A lot of my docs are placing them as well. So we have oral surgeons too. So, and then obviously the iTero, and then, really, if you want to look at different modalities, you have the option of getting the technology, right? So it's not an Aspen thing, like if you want to get a laser, if you want to do, eye laser, all that kind of stuff. I have all that stuff. I like playing with a lot of stuff. So, I have a room with, it's kind of the junk room where I've tried stuff in it. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. So it's just one of those things that if you want to use it, you can get it. But obviously we have certain things that we're kind of standardizing now too, which is the key things are the iTero, the intraoral scanners, and the CBCT. We're doing some cool stuff with smile designs now, where we're taking pictures on iPads and iPhones, and then it will give it'll give you a nice smile design for that patient, personalized. So things like that, we're always trying to look at various options.
Dr. Heald, anything you want to add?
No, just really the iTeros and the CBCTs, and so I've got those in most of my offices, and so they've been great scanning for partials, crowns, things like that. They've been fun to work with.
It's an unbelievable deal. I got to be honest with you. I'm looking at it. I'm evaluating it financially. The price for the practice that I was quoted was $325,000, and that's less than it. Like you'll make more than that in a year at most practices, and it's just an unbelievable deal to be able to walk in, have it all taken care of, be put in a great location. It's hard to say no. Plus, it's something that you love to do. You're able to help people, lead awesome teams that are part of great systems. Not to mention all this stuff we're going through right now. Like I'm taken care of. Like the fact that we have such a strong organization, I have no worry that my job's not going to be waiting for me when I get back. And all of that, you can buy in, become an owner for less than the price than you're going to make in a year.
So Alex, you mentioned your teams there a moment ago.
Sure.
How much input does a dentist have in the personnel at the practice, whether it's an owner making those decisions or an associate or an MCD?
So I will kind of say that owners get the call, but a lot of times it's in their best interest to empower their dentists. And I think that myself as an owner, I'm really going to empower my dentists. I mean, obviously I'm not going to be like, you can come in and fire the whole place, because that's crazy. But I will say that I wasn't forced to, but I like to take the reins. I like to be involved with leadership. And we had somebody who on the staff within the first 6 months, it just wasn't a great relationship with everyone else. She didn't have the kind of the skills required, and she didn't have the attitude. So I ended up letting her go myself. A really good opportunity, one, to learn, but to also see that I was respected and valued, and had a couple of discussions with leadership about it, but I was totally empowered.
Yeah, I give the MTDs in my offices the same opportunities. If we're hiring for a new dental assistant, then they go in, we interview together. They spend the day in the office with the other dental assistants and the doctor. Do they fit? Do they jive? Do you get along? So like Alex said, it's not in my best interest if I'm not the one that's in the office 24/7 to have just a dictatorship. It's a dialogue, it's a conversation, and we want to be able to provide a staff that works well with our doctors. And so we need doctors' input.
There's a follow-up question here. Does it says does Aspen Dental? So I'm assuming the question is, does Aspen Dental Management tell you who to hire?
They help you. Oh my goodness. Imagine the nightmare it is to go like place ads, do all this, I'll call it crap. It is not fun. They just find people for you, and then you're in the office doing the care. Like, you don't have to do anything in your free time. They show up, you meet them, and you say, I like them or I don't like them. I want to hire them or I don't want to hire them. I want to bring them back for a second interview or I don't. I mean, it is incredible to have that kind of work done for you, and it can really filter out a lot of the busy work.
I think one of the main things that we have to think about is, kind of a mindset. Aspen Dental is not like a foreign entity to me. They're my people, right? People that I have grown, people that started as a DA in my practice. They've gone up, to managing a practice. Then they became a regional manager. Then they became a director. These are all people that I've spent time with. They're not some random person from 3 states away, right? So I've developed relationships with these people. I trust them. I know, they're good. They make sound decisions, right? So you have to be able to do that if you're running any kind of practice, whether it's, you're running a grocery store or private practice in dentistry, or you're with a DSO. So it's Aspen Dental to me is not like some foreign entity. They're me. I'm part of it. I own the practice, but I have to let people who are in positions to make decisions make those decisions. And I learned that along the way too. In the beginning when I started, I used to get into every single interview because I thought I had to do that. Now I let them screen. And if, they need my input, I'll go in. If I'm in a practice and they're interviewing, obviously I'll spend some time with that person. But I empower the people that are there to make that call. And, it's important to, have that, it's not a dynamic where we're split. We're all one, it's one team. And it's most of my teams have been developed by me. So it's not like there's some foreign person that, like just today I spoke with one of the directors. She started as a trainee DA in one of our practices. And she's been with me for 9 years, right? So she knows what I want, and I let her make decisions, right? Sometimes they're not correct, but I probably would have made the same mistake, right? So it's one of those things that you have to be able to trust people, and you have to align yourself with people you trust, if that makes sense.
Dr. Katie, do you want to add anything to that?
No, he did a great job.
He usually does.
Again, it just doesn't behoove us to really dictate things. We all work together, from the management to the clinical. And I have people that have been with me for 6 years. Some of them moved from Florida to come work in North Carolina. So you really develop these good, sound relationships with people, and they're my left arm. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them, and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night without them. So they're great resources. And again, you align yourself with like-minded people, and you're able to build successes and learn along the way.
I can't speak enough to how supportive these guys are. Like, especially being on the newer side of things, having been an associate, being a lead now, like they're available. Like I'm not taking advantage of it, but they're available like 24/7 to help out. Like I woke up at 7:15. Everything's been changing every 2 weeks. So I looked at my paycheck and I was like, oh, this seems a little bit wrong. Message right away. Within 30 seconds, I had a reply and a resolution. And then a minute later, I had an email with me CC'd on it saying, hey, can you get this fixed for this doctor, please? And it's like, that's the kind of service I'm used to getting, whether it's like something's going on in the office, we're trying to hire somebody, whatever, they're there. It's not just they do the work for us. They're our friends, they're our family, they're the people that we spend our free time with. So it's definitely an amazing experience.
Great, thank you. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, so we have about 10 minutes left. There's a couple of questions that have been waiting for a little while, so I'd like to get to them. First of all, what advice would you give or what recommendations would you make for a D3 who is waiting to work for Aspen after graduation?
Start talking now. Start looking at some different practices. Even if you can't see, if you know you're going to go to a particular location, then look at the Aspen or Aspens around that area. If not, just get into an Aspen sooner rather than later. Ask to shadow, and then see where things go from there. Obviously, people like Joel are here to help keep you constantly contacted. The more you start that relationship, the more opportunities you're going to have. Also, I'm glad that you're talking about it in your third year. When I was in dental school, too many people were well into the fourth year before they started looking, when half the jobs have already been taken. So, you know, the sooner you start looking at it, the better. The more you develop relationships with, you know, people that represent Aspen or owners, or be at events like this, the more you're helping yourself. And I'm not saying don't look at other companies. We want you to look around. This is like dating. You got to find what's right for you. I think that we're right for you. I think that an Aspen is probably right for you. It's just a matter, is there availability in the area that you want to go to? So look at private practice, look at corporate. Definitely look at Aspen, but we're not telling you just look at us.
One of the nice things that you know, I kind of stumbled into was I started hiring some of the dental students in the summer as assistants. You know, you can put them on training status. They can actually get into the office, do chairside work. You know, especially after third year. So that we've done that actually with one of my friend's kids, and he just got into dental school, and we hired him. He was actually you know, an assistant for us. One of my lead dentists was an assistant in one of my practices. So, you know, those are the things you can do now, you know, especially at the end of third year in the summer. If somebody's looking to hire a cheap assistant, you know, you can get in there. You can learn a lot. You know, that's what I did actually too when I was in dental school. I assisted at the end of third year, and that just made fourth year so much easier for me. So, you know, that's something that you can do, some externships, things like that.
Also, different owners, different personalities. So, you know, a couple places that you like, you know, you might not really enjoy the Aspen that's right around the corner, but the one that's a little farther away, different location, somewhere new, somewhere different, you might go drive with the owner, really like what's going on over there. And so just because one doesn't seem like it's the right fit doesn't mean that it's over.
Thank you. So here's a good question, and I'm happy to contribute to the response if you guys are uncertain of your responses. If an owner dentist who is with Aspen wants to retire, is she obligated to sell the practice to another Aspen dentist, or can that owner sell to anyone, including an unaffiliated dentist, or will Aspen purchase the practice and use as a Aspen-owned location?
Aspen
The correct answer, yeah, the correct answer is, yeah, other than that, all of the above. You know, it's your practice. I own this practice, and the other ones. Aspen is not, it doesn't own a single percentage of my practices. They're a service organization that helps me provide the care that I need to my patients and my teams, and, you know, help make it efficient. So when I'm looking to sell, like I'm actually in the process of doing that right now with one of my partners. Ideally, you want, you don't, it's never a good idea to sell a private practice to a stranger. Okay. So, you
Well
want
said.
that person to work in the practice. This happens in every practice, So, there should be a little bit of a transition. So if somebody is coming into the practice, they have no idea what that practice does, right? Every single practice in America is different. So if you're thinking of buying a practice without ever working there, I think that's not a smart idea. You can do it, you can make it work. You may have the personality to do it, but it's really important for you to spend some time, make sure the patients feel like there's a little bit of a transition. So I would never advise just selling a practice to somebody who's never been in there. And, Aspen would give you that same advice, right? It's not their decision, but they would say, hey, maybe you should let them work with you for a few months, right? And then transition out. So ultimately it's your call, but, people will advise you if it doesn't seem right.
And you can't sell it to just some random person that's not in the Aspen organization, as far as I'm aware. Because they would have to have a mutual agreement with Aspen, because it is a mutual relationship.
It's a management firm, so we need to make sure that everyone is okay with all of the parties involved, that they're wanting to take on Aspen to be part of their management firm. And so if they're not familiar with the organization, it just can get a little bit, you're unsure. You don't really know what you're going to get into if you're not familiar with the organization, if you haven't been in with Aspen before. It just makes the process a lot easier if you're transitioning from someone who's been within the organization. They know how everything goes. They know how Aspen works as a management company. And also the patients know who the doctor is, and it makes that transition just easier for everyone involved.
Typically, an ownership transfer, in the example of the question that was asked, the new owner would spend at least 6 months boots on the ground in the practice, getting to learn the practice, the patients, and the Aspen Dental model. We just have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to combine two questions that are somewhat similar. Regarding recruiting new dentists, and particularly young dentists, what advice would you give to a D4, and what are you looking for when you hire?
What I'm looking for is I want someone who's willing to learn, who's not afraid to be a little bit bold, who really wants to have a mentor, who wants to learn and be developed, and who's not afraid to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. And someone who's willing to take productive feedback from a mentor is really what I'm looking for.
There's one big word, it's personality. It's all about you, like you have to have that personality. Everything, I didn't know really anything when I got out of dental school. When I think about it, obviously you get the basics. They basically teach us not to screw things up, right? And you learn everything else after that. So but it's the personality that will make you succeed versus fail. Or, one of the things with dentistry is most people don't fail, right? But the personality is what makes you excel. So if you have the right personality, if you have the right character, all that kind of stuff, the skills is easily learned. We learned how to drill holes in teeth and, do crown preps and do, bridge work and endo and all that kind of stuff. We knew none of that before we got into dental school. So the physical work is easier to learn. The mental and the psychological and the personality, that's something that you have or you don't. So that's one thing that I always look for. And everything else I can teach you. If you have the right personality, you're going to come to me and say, hey, doc, come in, show me how to do this, right? But if you don't have that personality, it's going to take you much longer to learn. So, definitely be mindful of that, and look for a good mentor. Look for somebody who has time to teach you, that isn't stuck in a crown prep in the room beside you and, has to go home and, leave you to the practice by yourself. They have to spend time with you and you have to spend time with them. That's the only way you're going to get anything out of a mentor. They may be the greatest mentor, but they have to be able to provide you with the time too. So, those are the questions I generally tell students or, somebody new to ask. Are you able to mentor me, and do you have the time to do so?
Thanks, Dr. Shach. Alex, anything to add?
I think that's well said.
Thank you. Well, as I said, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. A huge thank you to Dr. Alex, Dr. Shach, and Dr. Katie for taking the time out and answering these questions. I mean it when I say these are Ask Me Anything. We don't have any list of questions in advance. And so I appreciate those that posed questions. There's 3 people to whom we didn't get a chance to answer the questions. I will send you notes. If anybody is interested in contacting any of the doctors who appeared today, shoot me an email. You have my email address. You received it automatically when you registered, and I'll be glad to put you in touch with the doctors here. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thanks to those who commented on my tie, and you'd be amazed how many people there were. And once again,
Nice
thanks, Dr. Alex, Dr. Shach, Dr. Katie. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you, everybody, for attending. Good luck.
Yeah,
Stay safe.
contact Joel, because I would love it if you could reach out to any of us. I'm happy to jump on the phone anytime. Like that's my best advice for all you guys is to reach out and use your resources, and we're here for you.
Absolutely.
Have a good afternoon, guys.
Thanks, everyone.